Hey, welcome back to the Group Project Podcast. This is episode number 82, and I have the elementary principal she's an elementary principal in Kearney, Nebraska. Her name is Jill Clevenger. Jill, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So I reached out to Jill because I was doing a little Google searching, and we've interviewed a couple people from Nebraska here on the show before. Brandon Mowinkle and Ross Rickenbaugh are the two names, I believe. I hope that's correct. But I was Google searching Nebraska Principal of the Year 2020, and Jill's name popped up. And I reached out to her and I said, Jill, would you mind coming on the show sometime in August? And Jill was very kind and said, yes, I will join you. So Jill, I'm excited to hear about all the cool things you're doing.
Well, I can't wait to share.
So you're the principal at is it Kenwood
Yes.
Elementary?
Kenwood Elementary.
And you're starting your 17th year there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we got to get into that here a little bit later. That is a long time. That is impressive. I mean, when you look at time of principals being in one building, usually it's not that long. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But before that, you were a principal for 7 years, correct?
Yes, at Shelton.
Okay.
Shelton Elementary. Mm-hmm.
And is this year number 30 in education?
I'm starting my 31st.
31st. Okay.
Total.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, cool. Well, you're going to drop all kinds of knowledge on us today, I bet. So why don't you go ahead and share your educational experience, your background, how you got to the point of being the Nebraska Principal of the Year?
Oh my gosh. That's a long story. Well, I want to shout out to my hometown of Harvard, Nebraska. It's a very small town, 600 to 800 people. It's like 15 miles east of Hastings, close to Grand Island as well. And it was my fourth or fifth grade teacher that really sparked my interest in becoming a teacher because she was super sweet. She left you notes. She's just the person that I always wanted to become. And I don't think I realized that until I actually got into high school. Her name was Mrs. Suckup. I mean, of all names, you could never forget that.
No, you never forget that.
No, she was the sweetest. So anyway, Harvard is a K through 12 building. So kindergarten through, senior is where I went. And I really didn't know anything different. I mean, I knew Hastings was a, bigger school and they had, separate buildings, but I grew up in a small farm town girl. So when I graduated from high school, I did go to Kearney State back in the day. It was back in 1987. And then by the time I graduated, it was December of 1990. It was just switching over to become the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Kearney is very widely known for, especially in Nebraska, for their teacher education. It was a teacher's college back in the day and still is. So going back to that, I did work at a daycare and a preschool during college. And then when I did graduate, I did substitute one day at Shelton Elementary School. I believe it was a half day because I graduated in, December of 90. So, all the jobs were already taken, but so I got a subbing job and then it was just one half day. But then the next year I actually got a teaching job as a 6th grade teacher. And I was there for 5 years. I absolutely loved 6th grade. They get your jokes. I thought they still loved to learn at that time. I was having fun. And then also at the same time, I was also coaching high school volleyball. When you're at a smaller school,
Sure.
they need you to kind of step up and do some of those things. So I coached volleyball. And I also took night classes and summer classes to go towards my master's degree. And then during that point, it's a small town. We had a combination 3rd and 4th grade that nobody really wanted because it was very challenging. So I thought I'd step up to the plate and help out. So I moved into 3rd and 4th grade, and then I kept the same kids for the next year for 4th and 5th grade. It was amazing.
Wow.
I absolutely loved it. In the meantime, I got my degree. After 7 years of teaching, I got my principal job at Shelton for another 7 years. I loved that small school feeling. My husband is from Shelton, so we knew a lot of people. I thought we'd be forever staying in Shelton. There was only one place that I would go or move to, and that was Kearney. And my superintendent knew that at that time too, because he's like, they've got an opening. I know you're interested. And so yeah, I got lucky to be in Kearney. Yeah, so I started out at Kenwood. We were in an older building on Fifth Avenue. It was a 2-unit school, kindergarten through 5th grade. And I was there for 6 years, and we started growing out of our building to the point where we had some kindergarten raffle drawings to see who could go to our kindergarten that was in our neighborhood. It was awful.
Oh, geez.
It was awful.
Huh.
And so lo and behold, they held some bond issues, and we did get to build a beautiful new 3-unit building just to the southwest of the old Kenwood, and we got to keep the name Kenwood because it's still in the Kenwood neighborhood. Yeah, so that's kind of where I am in a nutshell. I've been here in this new building this is our 11th year already, and I can go back to those first couple of years. And I asked one of the other middle school principals, I'm like, when did you ever feel like you had everything under control, the protocols and everything? And he said, oh, a good 5 years. And I'm like, I don't have 5 years. I have got to get this down. And I can't believe I've been here 11 years already. So I'm very blessed.
So give us an idea. I've got the map up here, where I'm trying to figure out where Kearney's at. Maybe just give listeners, where in Nebraska is Kearney located?
Kearney is located pretty much in the middle of Nebraska. If you're on Interstate 80 and you're traveling west, we would be about 50 miles west of Grand Island.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like south centrally located right in the middle.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yep, that Highway 80 just takes you from Des Moines to through Omaha, through Lincoln, and then it looks like Kearney is there on your way, even as you're heading even to Denver there. So
yes,
very cool. So you're okay. Very cool. Are you a big Cornhusker fan or?
I am. Yes. Husker volleyball and Husker football.
There you go. Okay. We're coming back to that later for sure. We got to talk a little Scott Frost, hot seat or not. We got to talk about that a little bit. So, okay. So 17th year at Kenwood, 24th year as the elementary principal. What are the biggest lessons you've learned over the past 24 years?
Gosh, that makes, when you add up those numbers, I've been reflecting on that question. And of course, we know that we've had a lot of things that we've learned. But I would say one of the biggest is learning to get the temperature of your building. Don't just listen to a few, because a few doesn't speak for the whole. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just because 1 or 2 people think it doesn't mean that the whole majority are thinking that way. So, and another one, I'm going to add this on there too. Is that okay?
Yeah. Hey, drop any knowledge you want on us.
Okay. Because I learned not to just tell staff what to do, even though I was told, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. That was like totally against my whole being when I first started out, but I wanted to fit in, I guess. And yeah, that it doesn't work. You stick with what works for you and your style. And mine was more getting people involved and collaborate and making that more of a collective decision-making process. Yes, it takes longer, but I think in the long run, your purpose of what you are doing is shared throughout your building.
So let's go back to the get the temperature of the staff comment. What are some techniques you use to really be intentional about getting the feedback or the feelings from your staff?
Well, the best way is just to go talk to them individually, but also as a group. And so something that I've just incorporated lately, I wish I would have done it a long time ago, is to have our own grade level meetings. When I was at I shouldn't say old, at Shelton Elementary as a teacher, we were kind of by ourselves. I was the only sixth grade teacher, or I was only this, and we didn't really do a lot of collaboration. I'm sure they do now, but you kind of do what you're just normally used to. And so now I do meet with grade level teams during the day. We do have some planning time that we've got that everybody has the same planning time all week. And so I'll take at least once a month meeting for that. Then I also just like to check in with teachers. In the morning is the best. Everybody's refreshed and ready to go. And I know we're going to talk about, maybe what I do in the morning. And some of my favorite times are in the gym with the students and the staff, in the morning, just kind of touching base with everybody. But it's nice to get a feeling of, we're implementing new reading, we're implementing more social studies. And so, if you want to get a good feeling of how those things are going, or if you can help problem solve, we're here to support the teachers. And so that's the only way, really the best way. And of course, I do forms, Google Forms now and then to get a collective basis if it's not something that's really, really important. But yeah.
You did a really nice job of leading me into the next question, which is, what does a normal day look like for you?
Well, I try to get to school around 7 a.m. and I check to see who is gone for the day. So we're pretty big on making people feel welcome in our building. And so we have a board in the workroom, and this, of course, I just implemented probably 3 years ago. It's just like our building is bigger than what we're used to from before. So we have more staff. And so I will write down like who's gone for the day and what the substitute's name is. So then we can help welcome them by using first names into our building. So we write them up on our special guest board in the workroom. So everybody's, they come through there to get their mail in the morning. So they see that. On Fridays, if there's time, or on Monday mornings, I write our complete weekly events on the workroom board. And that's probably because I like to erase things when I get them done. But to also know that if they can't, I want staff to know that they can count on me, they can find me wherever. And if they want to know where I'm at, they look on the board. If I have an IEP meeting or a district meeting, they'll know exactly where I'm at. So I also put them on the staff Google Calendar because that's another great place to put your events. I check my email for any updates or shout outs for announcements, and then do any paperwork. And it's a short amount of time. And that paperwork can become very time consuming. Then one thing that we've learned from COVID is that we really liked our Zoom announcements. So we do this every morning. I use a PowerPoint presentation. We have a theme of the year. This year it's a superhero. There's a superhero in all of us. We use that as the background. We also have a Kenwood pledge. And before that, I should say, one of the feedback from the staff is that they'd like to have some background music while they're waiting for these announcements to happen. So I learned how to do that and put it on there. So we do a Kenwood pledge in the morning. We have a Kenwood flag. It's right back there.
Oh, yep.
And then we also do the Pledge of Allegiance. We have student leaders, if they're brave enough to come do it in front of everybody. We're kind of at that stage where they're not brave yet.
Yeah.
And then the pledge includes like our second step focus. We have a district mission Monday focus. We do birthdays. We do a joke, fun pictures. And then when all of that's done, we go out. Before announcements, I guess I should say I'm in the gym with the kids. So our doors open at 7:35 in the morning for breakfast. And then school starts at 8:05. So I'm in the gym with the kids with grades 1 through 5, and that's where that's my favorite part because I see most of the kids then, can talk to a lot of them. You do a check-in, you know which kids you really need to check in with, to see how people are doing. Go to classrooms, find out who's missing and why. I don't know, I could go on and on. Meet with social workers, counselors.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a busy morning. That gets us to like 8:30.
I was gonna say that's a lot, man. We're to 8:30, huh? Well, holy cow, you got a lot going on though. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some really cool ideas in there that you shared. That just around your announcements. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of strategic things you guys are including. So
Mhm.
before COVID, it was just over the loudspeaker. Is that a fair
Before
statement?
COVID, we would meet in the gym and it would just be grades 1 through 5. So 15 classrooms. And I would do announcements right then and there with
Oh, okay.
them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I really liked that too. But we try not to have that many kids together.
Yeah. Yep.
We really, like at 7:50, I allow third, fourth, and fifth grade to go down to the classrooms because the teachers want them early. They like how they come down calm. So we do that. And then on Fridays, we also have a school song that our music teacher comes in and plays.
Oh,
It's so
wow.
fun. It's so
You guys,
cool.
that's a lot of fun ideas. I
I
imagine the
think
kids eat
so.
that up, like the all the
Mhm.
stuff that you're talking about. I'm curious that the music before the announcements, like what music is that? Is that just is there anything in particular? Is it well-known songs? Is it just kind
No,
of
I just Google calming music for students. Yeah.
nice?
And there's some like
Sure.
ukulele music, but yeah, I just
Okay.
Google it and
Okay.
anything that goes like an hour long because I set it up pretty early, like at 20, well, I set it up at 7:30 and the teachers are in their classrooms at 7:45. So they set it up from 7:45 to 8:05. So the music has to run that long,
Wow.
to
Okay.
go to the
Okay.
announcements.
So
Yeah.
beyond 8:30, is there anything you want to highlight in terms of your daily routine?
Yes. Intentionally, we like to do walkthroughs um, with teachers. We are expected to do 5 walkthroughs for every teacher, which I don't, at first you're like, oh gosh, that's a lot, but really once you get into the rooms, it's an easy peasy routine to get into. And we use the talent ed system for that. And so it's pretty much the rubric is on there and you can give them the feedback that they need. It's pretty slick, but my problem is that I like to go in without my computer because it just seems more personable. And then when I get out, I get several different questions and then I don't get it typed up. So that's something that I'm working on,
Yeah.
is getting those walkthroughs done. We also do evaluations, of course, and those are scheduled as well. I attend district meetings. I meet with we have a social worker that I share with another building. We are just lucky and fortunate to have at least one. Um, and we will set up meetings once a week for sure to check in on kids to make sure that their needs are getting met. So it's the counselor, the social worker, or school psychologist, and myself that will meet over that. And then we also meet over like at-risk students and make sure that, we're touching base with them, or are they doing a check-in, check-out type of system and how well is that working? It's that communication piece that's huge. And I know that the toughest part is that we all get busy and it's
Mhm.
that busyness that deters you from continuing with that routine.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I also cover a lot of duties, like right now. We've been in school, what did I say, 8 days?
8 days, yeah.
Yeah, and so we're having a hard time finding paraprofessionals.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and so I have hired some students from UNK that are going into education, which I think will be a great experience for them. But as you know, their schedules are not favorable to what we need. And so I'm covering, they just started UNK today. So I'm done covering some of their duties, like recess duty, after school duty, and things like that.
Wow.
But I am very fortunate, and I hope we talk about this later. And I think it's a question. about professional practice. I'm lucky this year to have a principal intern for 9 weeks,
Oh,
and it's a new program that I'm
come back
excited
to
to
that.
share.
Let's definitely
Yeah.
come back to that. So what would you say, what is Kenwood Elementary known for?
Oh my goodness. I would say, I talked already about how we are so welcoming to people. I want
Yeah.
people when they come into the building that they get this great vibe and energy from us. But I'd say we're known for that, but also for our ability to teach students to accept each other and to encourage each other. Uh, the staff makes that atmosphere very family friendly, not just for our students, but for our substitutes and for parents that come in or any other like paraprofessionals that come in our building. We also have a very caring staff that they just know how to make relationships. Those hard to reach kiddos, they just don't give up, and they connect with families. They're not scared to do so. They reach out. We try to work as a team. So one thing that we have heard, our school feeds into Horizon Middle School. We have 2 middle schools. So those on the west side of 2nd Avenue feed into Horizon. And what Horizon Middle School teachers have told us is that our students are very well adjusted and get along with everyone.
Hmm.
So, that makes my heart happy that we've
Yeah.
made that transition easy for them. But we do work hard between our elementary and our middle school, or even our preschool to our elementary, to make those transitions easier for our kiddos too. So sorry, I'm kind of going off on a tangent,
Okay.
but
Yeah. So let's just talk about transitions for a minute. That when I talk to our principals, and when I was a principal, man, that those transition years were just difficult for a lot of kids, but it sounds like you've been able to kind of figure out a way to make it so it's easier. Any specific step or activity or something that you do to really help out with that transition?
well, we can start with preschool. One of our elementary principals became the preschool principal, and she had some hefty goals to make sure that that transition was smooth. And one of them was to have the principals and the kindergarten teachers go and shadow or go visit classrooms of students that are going to be coming to our school. And then after that, then we would get together and we would collaborate and meet on students. We also meet with special ed support staff that have worked with those preschoolers, and they meet with the kindergarten teachers and our team to go over any needs that we need to be particularly aware of, what works, what doesn't work. So we're not surprised when our kids come in here. Of course, open house is always a great time to bring kids in and stuff, but from transition from year to year, we do a sneak peek. So at the end of the year, we have the next grade level teacher. They all share a PowerPoint presentation with the prior year's classes. So they get to learn a little bit more about the teachers here. And then the next day, they go and visit the rooms of each of those classrooms. We just call it a sneak peek. They don't know which teacher they're going to get yet.
Yeah.
But it really does help them with that transition. And then our middle school does a great job. They send some former Kenwood kids down to Kenwood. They meet with the 5th graders. They kind of talk about their experience. And then our 5th graders get to travel up to Horizon for like an hour or 2. And then they get to be shown around the building, and they talk to the principal and learn all of those protocols. They do night presentations for parents, and the kids are there. And then the principals do follow up. They come back to the building and they ask if there's any specific questions that they have about that transition. So it seems to have done, it's been successful, I'd say.
Sounds like
And
it.
then the first day of school, the 6th graders go for a half a day, just without 7th and 8th graders there, so they can just,
Okay.
ease their
Okay.
way in without being scared of, possibly the older kids, I guess.
I think you listed off like 4 or 5 great steps for helping with that transition that I could see why, if you do all those different things that you just described, those
Mhm.
kids would feel pretty comfortable
Mhm.
to help adjust.
Right.
Um, okay, when you won your, so I always Google search like the guest and then see what news articles there might be. And there was a news article I read about you getting your award of being the Distinguished Principal of the Year in Nebraska for 2020. Again, congratulations on that.
Mhm.
You are really quick to recognize the efforts of the others in your building. How do you, and you've kind of talked about it, but how do you make all of your staff feel special?
Well, first of all, I couldn't have gotten this award without being with this amazing staff. I mean, 17 years of growth. They made me grow into the person that I am today. So, um, but making them feel special hasn't always been easy. But it's something that I've learned over the years. And I had to go back to my teacher days when I always enjoyed making my students feel happy and special. You have parties and celebrations and treats and recognition. So I don't know why I stopped with staff, you know? So now I just kind of, they deserve so much more. And we went through this phase with the staff that they really didn't feel like their job was joyful. And that like hits you right here in the heart. So in my mind, back then, I just thought it's up to individuals to make themselves happy. I think I do a good job of making sure that I'm doing positive affirmations and making myself happy, but not everybody does that. So that philosophy that I had was a fraction of the problem that I had. So it took me a while to realize that I could help with their happiness. So I guess at the beginning of the year, I do some fun things. I mean, we have a theme for the year. And so I make individual staff members a door sign that reflects the theme for the year. And of course, they place them on their doors. The paras put it in their lockers in their workroom on their doors. We really try to make us feel like a team. The janitors, the diner ladies, everybody is a part of our team. So, and then of course you give out little gifts and treats and themed stuff. So, but each month we also try to do something fun. So like in Thanksgiving, we would do like a turkey hunt, and it would be a scratch off turkey that we hide all throughout the school. And if they found the turkey, they could bring it in and scratch it off, and then they'd find their prize. Bingo in December, just fun things for staff to do. One time I rode a tricycle down the hallway and gave out cookies because they were one tough cookie that week because something happened that they needed a lot of flexibility and patience. And so it just kind of leaned itself to that. But teachers do enjoy their door hangers. They're like their drink orders and snack orders for the next day. They love like, what do you call that? Like you're at a hotel. Anyway,
Room service.
room service. That's what it is. So they love room service. And
Awesome.
they just, I don't know, anything special, we try to do that. But I also know that when we talk about recognition, because you think, teachers like praise and they like to know, what they're doing well and what they can work on. One thing I did learn is that some people don't like to be praised in a group setting. And so you really have to find out individually how each person wants to be recognized. I went into a teacher's room and I found a note that I had written, and she had it right on the side of her file cabinet. So I know she really likes the written notes. So I guess you just need to find out a little bit more about your group and go from there.
Lots of good ideas here you're sharing with. I appreciate it. Some really cool tips you got there that can be easily implemented in really any setting. Okay, so here's where we get to choose. We're going to talk about one or the other here: running effective meetings or delegation. Okay, you can choose one or the other. And I want to hear your best tip you got for either running better meetings or delegation.
Oh my goodness. It's almost hard to separate
You
the
can do
two.
both. Hey, do both.
Well, sometimes they go hand in hand, but
This is
I'll
true.
start with running effective meetings.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's always good to have snacks.
Yes, I agree.
Got to have snacks.
So what do you
Um,
got for snack? Like what snack? Like
well, we used
candy
to
or?
be like in a health kick, and I would bring, depending on our nurse, sorry,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
would bring like granola bars or fruit and water. And then it just becomes easier just to grab the cookies and the chocolates. They love chocolates.
Yes.
So I try to do an assortment of both when I can. Water's cheap, so that's usually a staple there. But I guess when I start to run a meeting and I'm planning for that meeting, the first thing is does it really need to be a meeting? Because teachers' time is very precious. And so that's the first question. And then if yes, it needs to be a meeting, then you need to start with your learning goals. What is it that you want to get accomplished during that meeting? And I found that once you have those, the rest of the things just fall into place. So running meetings, it used to be difficult for me, especially when I tried to come up with like the agenda. But then when I started with the why, and then why are we having this meeting? What do we want to accomplish? How are we going to get there? Then throughout the meeting, the how, and when you're done with all of them, then you go back to the top and you say, did we do this? Did we do this? Did we do this? Because then that just kind of culminates the whole meeting. Other things is you want to plan on how to keep the staff engaged. They're going to judge within the first 5 or 10 minutes whether they're going to listen to you or not. So one of the best things is, I really have to tell them we need to keep our laptops down, keep your phones on the side unless there's an emergency purpose that you need it, because you really got to get their attention. And then how are you going to keep them engaged? Are you going to have them work in a small group? Are you going to have them work with a partner? How are you going to have them share out? Will it be a carousel? It's kind of like being a teacher, but in a meeting. One of the staff meetings the beginning of this staff year meeting, I took I can't remember where I got it, probably Twitter. Anyway, I love Twitter. The plan and tell or ask method, because every year we have to go over our handbook, and oh my gosh, I mean, every single year, I've been here for 17 years, it's boring to me. And so I'm like, how can we juice this up a little bit? So we did plan and tell or ask, and you put whatever the highlights of your handbook that you must touch on or you need to touch on, you put those words into an envelope. And then in their small groups, one person at a time takes it out and they tell the whole group what they know about what's in the handbook about that specific item. And if they don't know, then they ask the rest of the group to give more information. So what I liked about doing that is, you're modeling another teaching strategy for teachers. And then the best compliment is when one of your teachers shows that they used it in their classroom. So that's, I would use your meetings as showing new strategies, I guess. Assigning the roles, if you need a note taker, need somebody to be a spokesperson, depending on your grouping, that also helps. And one other would be sharing your agenda ahead of time so people can be prepared. I always touch base with the people that I need to really speak out if they're in certain groups. I touch base with them ahead of time, so if they have any questions, they can come talk to me. But one meeting that I recently had was with our writing committee, and I shared that agenda ahead of time with all of the links to the data pieces. And by the time we got to the meeting, they knew what our strengths and our areas of weaknesses were. And so our time was used more on what are we going to do about it? What can we do? So I guess those are some of the tips that I would say to run an effective meeting.
Good stuff. Yeah. Anything with delegation you want to share?
It's hard. I would say it's hard when you're new to a school.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yes.
depending on what, happened in the past, if there were committees or leaders, um, it's just hard. So to determine who your strong and positive leaders are, that takes time to emerge. And some staff will volunteer while others would rather not be in front of their peers, even though they might be more knowledgeable, and more engaging. So I would say find out your staff's strengths
Okay.
first,
Yep.
and then go from there, be a resource to them, support them however they want. But um, yeah, or just ask yourself, is there someone else who can or can be given the necessary information to do that task that
Yep.
you could do? It's funny because just today I gave our music and our PE teacher a task to come up with a different schedule for Friday because we have all these safety drills coming up. So I'm like, hey, instead of me doing it, they know their schedule so well. It
Yes.
took them probably 2 minutes where it would have taken me 15.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it helps to get them involved. In
Absolutely.
the
And
process.
I bet they felt empowered doing that
Yeah.
is my guess.
Yes, and they gave me two choices, and
Huh.
I liked both of them, but in the end, I made their second choice, and we're off and running with
Cool. Cool.
it.
Okay. So, hey, the next thing is professional practice. And you mentioned coming back to the principal intern. So I want to hear about this principal intern program.
Yes. Well, I am excited. It's called Ascend Academy, and it's an alliance between three cities: Grand Island, Hastings, and Kearney. And we're all three different size districts. I would say Grand Island, is class A in Nebraska. I don't know what Kearney's class A, and I believe Hastings class B, but I would say Kearney's class A is smaller than Grand Island's class A, but we're still class A. So it's an alliance between those three cities, and the goal is to deepen the resource capacity of the Tri-City Alliance for equity-driven leaders. So it's like preparing and developing from teacher leaders to school assistant principals to central office leaders. So what does that mean? That means that each school has I call them principal intern. They all have their administrative degree already. They had to interview to get this position. And then they go to the other school districts for 9 weeks to shadow and to do other administrative duties. So I have a gal from Hastings. She's a Hastings PE teacher. She has her administrative degree. She is with me for 9 weeks. I'll have her till October 15th. So right now that we have school started, she is shadowing me. She is learning a lot about reading, about the testing, and she's helping us test. She's helping with behaviors. And I just love it. So the district is supplying a full-time substitute for these principal interns to be at other districts. And then my intern will go to Grand Island for the next 9 weeks. And then she'll be back at her home school next semester. So this coming week, she does not come in to Kenwood. She stays in Hastings, and they're going to have an Ascend Zoom meeting where she'll get to be with the other two principal interns, and they'll talk about their experiences already. And then us principals, we've decided that we're going to get together to discuss what are some things that we're having them do, and maybe that'll spur some ideas for me too, to make sure that I'm doing with Tamisha is her name. So it is new to us.
Okay.
So, and it was new to me. I was supposed to have her the second quarter, but one of the principals had a knee surgery. So I got to take her the first 8 weeks. She's been amazing. It's been awesome. It's like having an assistant principal.
Yeah. Do the interns, do they get paid their normal salary?
Yes. And then they are paying them, I believe, $1,000 stipend for travel.
Okay.
Mhm.
Are they interning all year?
Just the first semester.
Just the first semester, and then they go back to their
Yep, they'll go back
position?
to their positions. Yeah.
Will there be new intern second semester?
I don't believe so.
Okay,
I don't believe so. Now, that could change depending on how this goes, and
sure.
maybe
Yep.
by
New program.
October, they, but I think, it has to go through the school board and you have to
Yeah.
approve and all that. So I'm just assuming it's just this first
I've
semester.
just never heard of a program like that. That sounds like a really innovative way to grow your leaders.
Yes, yeah. I'm very excited to be a part of that and just kind of pilot it and get it kicked off. And I know there's many more great things that will happen in years to come. So,
Okay, really cool idea. Is there anything else you want to share about professional practices?
um, I would say, for me, attending professional conferences, but I would say the best and foremost was connecting with your region principals. Like, so we're a part of Region 4, so it's Grand Island, Hastings, Kearney, North Platte, and all the small area schools. We gather together as an association, and we're called Region 4. I believe there's 7 throughout Nebraska. And connect with principals across your region. I really truly believe that that's what helped me get my job in Kearney, because I already had the connections with the Kearney principals. They were very open, and you don't feel like any question is a bad question. So that would be the first thing, is to get involved with your region. Attending those professional conferences. I haven't gone to a professional conference for a while, because when I was in Shelton, they would pay it every other year. And then when I came to Kearney, they said you can go, but you have to use your building budget. And I just have a hard time doing that,
Yeah. Okay.
taking it for myself. But professional conferences are amazing. I've learned a lot through Facebook, Twitter, Facebook and Twitter. And then of course I'm in a bigger district now, so I lean on my peers, my other colleagues.
Okay, last question here in terms of the professional leadership. What advice would you give school leaders who are trying to become a principal but are not getting their shot?
Oh, goodness. Well, of course, cliche, never give up. I would say do all that you can to make yourself visible and available. Show your commitment. It has to be greater. Like, I feel like I hope I do that, but I feel like my commitment must be greater than anybody else's in my organization. So I put other people first, have that team first attitude. I would say join and lead committees so they can see your leadership abilities and your ability to run an effective meeting. I would interview and find out as much information that I can from new and veteran principals. Again, I would shadow. If you're allowed to take a professional day or take a personal day to go shadow somebody, I would ask your administrator about your strengths and areas of growth so that they can see that you're willing to be better and get better and be transparent. Don't blame others, take ownership, reflect on what you would have done differently, because I've got many, many failures. So and I don't know if you've heard about the Coffee Bean Life Lessons by Damon West.
I've heard of it, but tell me more. I don't know if I know it.
It is so, you really need to look him up, and you can even YouTube it. I can send you the link, but he was incarcerated, was into drugs, and he just has a very awesome story about like positive outcomes. And one of his coffee bean life lessons, I'm not going to give away the ending.
Okay.
You're going to go, what do they mean by coffee? One of his sayings is, if it is to be, it is up to me. So if you want it to happen, you can make it happen. You just have to, you have to be committed, and you have to show your work ethic and get there. So yeah, you need to look him up.
I'm looking it up right now. I've heard of this guy, this Damon West guy, and there you go.
It's a coffee bean for kids, and we have coffee bean for teachers. Yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
It's to create positive change is what it's about.
Okay. So John Gordon also wrote a book. Oh, it's the same one. It's just, okay.
Yes.
Makes sense. Because I
Yes.
knew John Gordon wrote like or was associated with the coffee bean. And now I'm
Mhm.
realizing it's John Gordon and Damon West. Okay.
Yes.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Makes sense now. Makes sense. Very cool. Very cool. Well, hey, if you're just joining us, this is episode 82. And Jill Clevenger, from the elementary principal at Kenwood in Kearney, Nebraska, is just dropping all kinds of ideas on us today. It's been really, really fascinating, really, really good here. All right, Jill, I've got about 10 more minutes here with you, and I'm going to take us through some quick hitters, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so if we are driving on Highway 80, going out west, going out your direction, if we stop in Kearney, where's one place we got to check out?
I would say the Great Platte River Archway. It's
Okay.
it's a monument that extends over the interstate. It's a historical exhibit. I mean, there's nothing like it. It just tells the story of adventures that traveled along the river in Nebraska, the Platte River. But it's like a museum, and it really
Yeah.
has come to life. And they've got more than just the museum. There's a trailblaze maze, there's sod houses, picnic areas, hike and bike trails, lake, visitor center. So you can't miss it if you're going east or west through Kearney. You're going to go under the archway,
I
and
see
you're
it.
going to wonder what is in that building.
Well, it reminds me, I go out to Chicago a decent amount, and they've got these big like travel plaza. That's kind of what it reminds me of, but it clearly there's a historical, there's some historical things. There's all kinds of things going on there. I'm just looking at all the
Yeah,
pictures here. My
it's beautiful.
gosh, you're right. Trails and holy
Mhm.
cow. Impressive. Impressive. Wow. I'm looking at, okay. Okay. That's some good stuff there. Okay. Next question. What is one, air quotes here, sneaky good purchase you have made that has most improved your life?
Um, I think the people that know me know I do not like to shop. I let Stitch Fix dress me. They send me boxes of clothes
Yes.
because
Yes.
there's just too many things to choose from. But one sneaky purchase would be, wasn't really sneaky. I haven't golfed like since we moved to Kearney over 17 years ago. And now I'm an empty nester. Both of my boys are out of the house. And I'm still trying to figure out what I need to do with all my time. Yes, I can spend it with my husband, but it's good for us to be apart.
Yep. Yep.
So I did purchase some golf shoes, some golf balls and tees, and a used golf bag. And yes, I'm starting to golf again.
So you
So
didn't
we'll
mention
see.
clubs. You did not mention clubs in that whole.
I had clubs. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I can use my old clubs.
So you had, okay. So did you play any this past summer? Did you have a chance to play?
Yes, I played in a women's league on Wednesday night.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
so fun. It's so fun. I'm not any better, but I'm not gonna give up yet.
Just but it's good for like camaraderie and getting away a little bit for the night.
Yes, yes. Just enjoying being outside and yeah, not having to wear a mask when you golf, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go back to Stitch Fix just for a minute. You're a believer in Stitch Fix?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay, because we had I was at an admin conference 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about some people who were doing Stitch Fix, and I know it's been around for a while, and they were saying like some guys that I was talking to, they're like they don't like shopping either, and they're just like Stitch Fix is easy because I can tell that they're picky, but they don't
Yeah.
like shopping, and so you can kind
Yes.
of really you can send back what you don't want, and
Yes.
so okay,
Exactly.
so check it out, huh? We've got your word of
Check
approval.
it out. Yes. And they will even send you now an email with what they've selected for you based off of your profile. And if you don't like it, you can click on it and then they'll just send you something different. So
Okay. Oh
yeah,
wow,
it's
nice.
kind of it's just a surprise in a box.
We all like surprises. We all,
That kind
I mean,
anyway.
good surprises. Good. Yes. It kind of feels like birthday or Christmas, like getting gifts.
Yes.
Okay. So what is one book besides Coffee Bean? We talked about that a little bit. You showed me
Yeah.
that. What's one book that has greatly influenced your life?
I'm going to go back to, I don't even know how old it is, but it's called Help for Billy by Heather Forbes. And when we were at the old Kenwood building, I don't know, the way I approached discipline seemed to work with kids. But then when we came to the new building, it just seems like things shifted. And I felt like I was hitting my head against a wall with the kids. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not making any positive change with these kids? And after reading Help for Billy, I recognized that, they're coming from all kinds of different backgrounds. And my traditional approach wasn't working for the new view approach. And so I had to shift, how I say things, or the way I look at behaviors and how I deal with them. So that has greatly influenced. In fact, we did a book study.
Okay.
It's been a while ago with the staff on this, but we all were feeling that, so it was good for us to kind of go through that together and just talk about what we were seeing and how we can do things differently and better.
So the book is Help for Billy by Heather Forbes, in case you
Yes.
missed that little intro. Yep, I'm looking at it right now here on Amazon. So very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
What is one phone app that has positively impacted your life?
Okay, so there are a lot of them. Let me see. I was telling you about one of the phone apps that I just recently put on there, and it's called Slack. So Slack
Yes.
is a messaging app for businesses that connect people to the information they need. Well, when we went to Chicago this past July for the NDP ceremony, all of the NDPs from different states got together. And it was so fun connecting with them and sharing stories that we decided to continue with the Slack app. And so it has, different things that we can talk about, like teacher appreciation, or first day of school, first staff meetings. And I even kind of connect with Kansas principal right now, Stacy Green. So it's kind of nice to still have those connections to those people. So I'd say Slack.
So I was talking to my brother who's a CFO in the business world, and he was highly recommending we use Slack for our organization. Now you use it kind of as your professional circle. Have you thought about using it at all within your district, your school, your district, or is it more just for the professional circle there?
I would say right now it's just for the professional circle. Our district has us use the Remind app, which is probably one of the best apps too. So the Remind app just this year, because my principal intern taught me how to use it, is I could put the certified staff in there and I could put the classified staff. And actually we had a situation, sorry if I'm going over, but we had a situation last Monday where we had to go to a secure, like a lockout situation. There was a law enforcement officer or situation that was happening outside of our building. And if I would have had that Remind app, I could have gotten that message out without students knowing, because I always like them to be calm and cool. And instead of just going to every classroom and telling them, I still would have done that to make sure that they knew. But if I would have had that Remind app, that's what our district uses, and that's what our teachers use with the parents as well. So yeah, Remind.
Okay. Well, you got me fascinated with Slack. That's like the second conversation I've had in the last week about Slack, and I'm very curious if there's a way we can maybe do our communications better. So I appreciate you sharing that. Next question is, and I don't know about this one with you because you've been in that position for so long. Can you recall a job you applied for but did not get?
It was hard because I have been here for a very long time.
Yeah.
And honestly, people know my memory is very bad. But I believe that I did interview for a position in Northeast Nebraska, and it was far, far away. And you're just excited to get an interview, and then when I got done, you can just kind of tell that it wasn't a good fit. probably for me and not for them either. So when I was reflecting on this question, I was also thinking about teachers that I try to, that were doing interviews and hiring. And I kind of think of this as, I don't know if you watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette.
It's been a little
Sometimes,
while. I used to.
yeah,
Yes.
sometimes I indulge in it
Of
still because,
course. No, it's good
I don't,
entertainment.
yeah. So anyway, it's like, if you're not offered that rose, it's because somebody felt it wasn't a good fit. It's not that you're a bad person, and it's not that you're not the best and brightest person for that position either. It just wasn't the best fit for either one. So that's kind of how I see not getting that job,
Like it.
and I always feel like I'll end up where I need to end up, and I'm going to be happy. So
So
I
I
did.
so I gotta ask you. So I haven't watched Bachelorette for a while. I did when I was in college. Oh yeah, every whatever night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, whatever night it was.
Yeah.
What is your for the Bachelor? What's just what's more is Bachelor more popular or is it even? I don't know.
I don't even know.
Okay.
I don't even know. Let's
Well,
see, Bachelor. Well, I know some friends that would invite me over when the Bachelor was on. So yeah, that was kind of fun, but it's also, I don't know, either or.
okay. So my question, that was a bad seg. My question is, what's your most memorable Bachelor or Bachelorette season? Do you have one that just had you on the edge of your seat? You're like, who is she or he gonna pick?
No, I don't. Sorry. I
It's
mean, I
okay.
remember there being an airplane in the background, but I couldn't tell you who and what. I go back to, is it Krista? They live in Colorado and he's a firefighter.
I remember that series. I remember that a
Yeah,
long time ago.
yeah. I mean, they're like the ones that are still married.
Yeah, very few make it, right?
Very few. Yeah. So I think that's about the only one I can remember because they still kind of bring them on and kind of show
Yeah.
their life. But
I'm trying to search it. I'm not having any luck here, but that's one. Yes, that's one I remember probably like 15 years ago.
yeah,
But yes,
it was a
that's
while.
awesome. Hey, what is your best tip for being productive?
You gotta be intentional. Everything has to be intentional. Like I'm not gonna lie, I listened to your podcast number 81.
Yeah.
Well, she and I are somewhat similar. I enjoyed listening to her, but she said scheduling. If it gets scheduled, it gets done. And I'm like, yeah, girl, I get it. I get it. Everything I do has to be scheduled. And even sometimes when it's scheduled, I'll get reminders on my phone and but I want the staff to know that they can count on me and that I will be there. They don't have to double, be like worried that I'm going to be there or not. So yes, it has to be scheduling.
Cool. Well, you're talking about episode 81 with Melissa Barlow.
Yes.
Yes, that was my biggest takeaway too, was being intentional with that scheduling.
Mhm.
Our days can get so crazy if we're not
Mhm.
intentional with that, with those meetings, right? And those
Yes.
and using our schedule to kind of drive our priorities.
Right.
So hey, if you're listening, that's 2 episodes in a row from two principals of the year, one in Nebraska, one in Oklahoma. One's elementary principal, one's a high school principal, both saying scheduling is the key to being productive.
Yes.
So hey, I mean, just take it from the people who are living it. What is one big goal you are currently working on?
Oh gosh. I would say I know we've talked about the busyness and sometimes I let that busyness take me over. And so I don't want that busyness to win. So I guess I'm trying to be the same person, whether we're winning or losing, or it's busy or it's calm. I just want to make sure that I am thriving and that I'm learning. I in our pre-service for administrators, we watched something called Understanding Trauma, and it talks about the learning brain versus the survival brain. And I know it was more for students, but I also see it with teachers and I also see it with myself, that if we're in survival mode, it's we're focused on the wrong things, and then that's when you become negative and your personal mental health is poor. And so I really want to focus on maintaining consistency with myself, being positive, not being afraid to make mistakes, and being confident in what I'm doing, and keep going and keep the positivity going.
So you mentioned winning and losing. I feel like we got to talk about Nebraska football real quick, right?
Hey.
Okay. What is your, so hey, I live in Iowa, Big Ten country, Nebraska, we've kind of dominated Nebraska, not going to lie, the last few years, but what's your outlook for the season? What are the Huskers going to do this year?
Every year I'm very optimistic, every year. And we even have some players, I think is it Dojo? No, what's his name? Doman. Jojo Doman.
Jojo Doman, yeah.
Coming back for his 6th year. I'm like, now that's dedication, commitment right there. He must see something in this team that is going to bring us, up. So I think we'll fare better.
So are you Scott Frost? Are you a fan? Are you kind of starting to question it a little bit?
I am starting to question, but I'll still be supportive. I'll be behind him. I think he's still going through some growing areas, that he's got Tom Osborne on campus that he can learn from.
This is true. The legend.
So,
and
legend. That guy is hard to fill. You can't fill his shoes.
Well, hey, you heard it right there. You heard it. We're predicting a successful season for the Cornhuskers. You just heard it from a Big Red fan there.
They start this Saturday.
It's this Saturday?
Yeah, it's week 0. They're playing Illinois. Don't know.
Wow.
Which one, but yeah, noon.
There you go. You gonna be in front of the TV watching it?
Will I? Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And then we have a fundraiser for Kearney Public Schools that night. So it's a busy day.
It's going to be a busy day.
Go Big Red during the day and then go Big Blue at night.
Awesome. That's really cool. Well, hey, anything else? Yeah. Anything else you want to share before we take off here?
I guess I want to share what I've learned from you, what you've helped me do and grow. Remember when I told you I checked your email, and you asked me to come on the show, and I was coming off an airplane, and I'm like, oh yeah. And I kind of put it aside and thought, that's the end of it. Well, you emailed me back, and it was at a time where I was at administrator days, and I learned through that motto of discomfort is the appetizer for growth. And so I saw that as a sign that I needed to come and grow myself and do something that was outside of my box. So I want to thank you. This is my first ever podcast. And, these questions really made me reflect as a professional and as a person. So thank you so much for asking me to do this. I
thought you did great. I mean, I'm not just saying this. There was 7 or 8 ideas that I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I know this maybe wasn't necessarily your idea, but you discussed the idea about growing those leaders, having this admin intern. I think people listening to the show could be like, how can I grow leaders in our district or in our setting? I thought that was outstanding. I loved, you mentioned room service. I always try to keep my mouth quiet because I don't want to it's your interview. And I don't like people who do interviews and then they talk half the time. It's about you. But that's something that we've done here the last couple of years that I love is that room service idea. I mean, those little things, and then you're bored about who's subbing in the day. There's just so many ideas that you shared with us that I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. Oh, either we're doing it or we should look at doing that. So again, for you not necessarily wanting to in the moment, the first email, wanting to come on the show and then change, saying, okay, I'll do it. You did great. So you need people who are out there, this would be a great person to learn from and to tap in, to learn some things from and maybe be a part of that Slack group that you got going.
It's good. I like it.
So Jill, I really appreciate it. Again, this was Jill Clevenger, elementary principal in Kearney, Nebraska, principal at Kenwood for year number 17, and the 2020 Nebraska Association of Elementary School Principals Distinguished Principal of the Year. So Jill, great job. I'm gonna share this with you, and you can share it with whoever you like there once it's done uploading, and keep doing great things.
Well, thank you. You as well.
All right, I will let you go. You better get going there. What's to eat tonight? Anything special?
What's what?
What are you gonna have for dinner tonight? Anything
Oh,
special?
I haven't even thought about it. It was our anniversary last week, so maybe I'll use that gift card tonight.
Right now, where's the gift card to?
Cunningham's. So we have Cunningham's on the lake,
Oh,
which is right by Interstate 80. It's beautiful. And then there's a Cunningham's on the brick downtown, on the bricks downtown.
okay.
So,
Okay,
yeah.
so we can stop at that place above 80, check out all the some of the historical stuff, and then go to
Yep.
Cunningham's for dinner after. Is that what the plan will
Yes, yes, that sounds like a great date.
be? All right. Hey, Jill, thank you so much. Have a good rest of the year, and keep doing great work.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.